In the summer of 1914, Europe was basically a Minecraft village stuck outside at night. Everyone was armed, everyone was nervous, and somewhere in the distance, you could almost hear a creeper hissing. Because of colonial competition, nationalism, and the arms race, the great powers had been side-eyeing each other for years. The whole continent had basically turned into a giant barrel of gunpowder. Then, in Sarajevo, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, the heir to Austria-Hungary, was assassinated by Serbian nationalists. And one tiny spark set the entire continent on fire. Normally, this is where everyone should have stopped and said, "Guys, maybe calm down."
But history is basically the art of humans making everything worse. Once the alliance system kicked in, Europe split into two giant sides, like a Star Wars battle. On one side, there were the Central Powers. On the other side, the Allied Powers. Everyone called their friends. Their friends called their friends. And within a few weeks, Europe left the diplomacy table and entered the boss fight arena. When young soldiers boarded the trains, most people thought the war would be short. Everyone saw themselves as the hero of a Disney movie. There were songs, there were flags, there was hope, there were dramatic goodbyes. The trailer looked amazing. But when they reached the front, the genre changed instantly. They expected a romantic adventure. Instead, they got mud, barbed wire, trenches, and the sound of artillery. In other words, the trailer was one thing, the movie was something else entirely. On the Western Front, the war became completely stuck. Sometimes thousands of soldiers died just to gain a few hundred meters of land. This was nothing like the epic battles in The Lord of the Rings. It was more like Mordor's wet, muddy, freezing, terrible-smelling cousin. Machine guns, heavy artillery, and poison gas destroyed the old idea of war. This was no longer a heroic adventure. It was an industrial nightmare. Soldiers in the trenches were not only fighting the enemy, they were also fighting hunger, disease, rats, cold, fear, and the realization that nobody had included this part in the trailer. Basically, war was much worse than the advertisement. And the disaster was not limited to the trenches of Europe. At sea, battleships and submarines entered the game. In the sky, newly used airplanes carried war into another dimension.
In 1915, fronts like Gallipoli showed just how massive the war had become. With the Ottoman Empire joining the war, the number of fronts increased even more. Millions of people were dragged into life and death struggles in lands they had never even heard of. In 1917, revolution broke out in Russia. The Tsarist regime collapsed, and the balance of the Eastern Front was suddenly turned upside down. That same year, the United States entered the war. It was like a high-level support character joining the game late.
By 1918, Europe finally tried to cancel its Mordor subscription. Germany's last attacks failed. The Central Powers started collapsing one by one. At this point, the war was basically sending pop-up notifications like, "Your empire is running low on soldiers. Your economy has stopped responding. Would you like to restart civilization?" On November 11, 1918, the armistice was signed. World War I officially ended.
Europe looked around and said, "Okay, that was terrible. Let's never do that again." And history replied, "Sure, saving settings." But the save file was corrupted. Millions were dead. Empires were broken. Cities were ruined. The trailer had been Disney. The movie was Mordor. And the ending was not peace. It was just Europe clicking, "Remind me again in 20 years."